Hey, peace. What's happening, everyone? On our deal with.
Recognize royalty. Recognize it. Recognize royalty. Gotta recognize it. Recognize royalty. Like they ain't got eyes to recognize royalty.
Yeah, blessings. Once again, the routine, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. All of that helps. So you don't know. Without any further ado, let's get started. So with America officially entering the war between Israel and Iran, the question that keeps popping up is, why does America support Israel the way it does, to the tune of billions of dollars every year? What is America's interest in Israel, and what does America get back from that relationship with Israel? I'm going to share how Candace Owens posed that question to Piers Morgan, as well as his response. The Trump administration has gotten a lot of flack from even its own supporters, including Candace and people like Tucker Carlson. And so I'm gonna pose the question that Candace asked Piers. We'll listen to Piers's response, and then we'll kind of dive into ChatGPT and see what we can gather from there, and what we feel is a more, I guess, proper response to the question. So let's listen.
I just think that, like I said, Generation 9/11 has grown up, and I think that our eyes are very clear here, and we recognize that our relationship with Israel has become increasingly problematic, and it always was problematic. So I'll again ask the questions, Piers. I'm asking you because we're having a conversation. Yeah. Name something positive that our Zionist AIPAC foreign policy has brought to America.
Well, I think the positive side of, if you want an answer about that, is that America has been Israel's steadfast ally because it recognizes as a country that Israel has been under an almost unique, multifaceted threat on its border for a very long time from people that want to destroy it. That you may not see that as a benefit, but Israel has been very supportive to the United States in many ways. Right, so why shouldn't America?
I just want something concrete that has been benefit. Like, we got better in America in this way. Just name something. Gas prices, just something that the average American can relate to.
Well, you're not going to have a correlation between Zionism and gas prices in America. Of course, you're not.
And there may not be. There absolutely may not be a correlation between Zionism or our support for Israel and gas prices. But there should be some correlation between, our support for Israel and how it benefits us. There should be some benefit from it. Again, maybe not in gas prices, but let's see if there are any benefits that Americans can look at, that Americans value as much as they value low gas prices. So the first question I'll ask ChatGPT is, what are benefits to America for supporting Israel? And it says the U.S. support for Israel yields several strategic, political, economic, and ideological benefits. Below are the main reasons often cited by policymakers and analysts. Number 1, strategic military ally in the Middle East. Forward base in a volatile region. Israel provides intelligence, technology sharing, and a stable allied presence near Iran, Syria, and other adversarial regimes. And again, keep in mind what we're trying to do here is figure out whether we value having those things as we value low gas prices or things that hit us directly in our pockets. Off the bat, I can see the value in having that strategic military ally in the Middle East. And again, given, as it says, just how volatile that area is. So the next thing is a joint military exercises and defense systems. The US and Israel co-develop advanced weapons like the Iron Dome, improving US battlefield capabilities. The next is surveillance and counterterrorism. Israel shares high-value intel on terror groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, and ISIS. And, right off the bat, I would say that those are things that Americans value. Because if we are going to be engaged in any type of military action in those areas, we want our troops to be protected. And I think at the end of the day, what all of this amounts to, the idea of a forward base in a volatile region, the joint military exercises and defense systems, surveillance and counterterrorism, all of those, boils down to, in my estimation, it just all boils down to protection for our troops that are there. And I can't imagine why that wouldn't save the lives of many of our troops. And so the question is, do we value the protection of our troops in these areas? Do we value the protection of our troops as much as we value money in our pocket in terms of low gas prices? And should we value those things? Should those things be just as valuable to us? And I would, argue that there is absolutely value in that. The second benefit is that it's an economic and technological partnerships. It's an innovation hub. Israel is a global leader in cybersecurity, biotech, and artificial intelligence. U.S. companies benefit from partnerships and R&D based in Israel. Arms sales and co-development. Billions in U.S. military aid to Israel are often funneled back to U.S. defense contractors. So that seems like a pretty big deal, I think, the economic and technological partnerships, because apparently a lot of that investment comes back to American companies. When America supplies aid to Israel, most of that money comes back to America, to American companies. And so that, I think the argument can be made that it creates jobs and, it creates profits for these contractors. And so I can't see where that is not a benefit. So it may not be lower gas prices for particular individuals, but it may be a job for others, because again, most of the aid that goes to Israel comes back to America. The next benefit is the influence in the Middle East. Projection of power. Supporting Israel helps U.S. maintain leverage over Arab-Israeli dynamics and regional peace processes. Counterbalance to Iran and adversaries. Israel acts as a deterrent against Iranian expansion and Russian or Chinese influence in the region. And again, why isn't that something that Americans should value? Or why should that not be valuable to any administration? So I think that, again, and this is given just how volatile the Middle East is. There's a lot of Islamists in the Middle East that absolutely wish to do America and Americans harm. And again, that protection that comes from the influence that America is provided in the Middle East, the protection to Americans, I think, is something that should be valued as well. The next benefit is domestic political support. Strong pro-Israel lobbying, example AIPAC. Bipartisan U.S. political support for Israel is reinforced by lobbying, campaign donations, and Christian Zionist voters. And an evangelical Christian base. Many U.S. evangelical voters see Israel's survival as tied to biblical prophecy and support it for religious reasons. Yeah, I guess people like Ted Cruz, that was his main reason for supporting Israel, was, I guess, the satisfaction he got from knowing that it was the fulfillment of I guess, his goal in life as a Christian. Now, is that a benefit to America and Americans? I think that's definitely debatable. You know, is that for me worth more than gas prices? For me, maybe not, but for someone who's concerned with the salvation of their soul, I guess I can see where they can see supporting Israel as a benefit. Yeah, the next benefit is number 5, shared democratic and cultural values, Western-style democracy. Israel is often described as a democratic ally with similar political values, freedom of speech, and rule of law. Holocaust legacy and moral responsibility. After World War II, support for a Jewish homeland was seen as part of a global moral obligation. So I guess that these are benefits in that it fulfills what people in the West see as a moral obligation after the Holocaust, supporting the Jews with making sure that they had a homeland and then supporting them thereafter. And again, the value of having a democratic ally in the Middle East, I think, is invaluable at this point. So again, it may not be money in your pocket or lower gas prices, but I don't know if those are the only things that are valuable as Americans. The interesting part of all of this, the most interesting part is the financial part, because I think that's the main thing that people have an issue with, is just how much money America gives to Israel, and that we don't get anything back for that money. So I just want to focus on that a little bit. And I'm asking ChatGPT, what percent of U.S. aid to Israel is funneled back to American defense contractors? And it says about 74% of U.S. foreign military financing to Israel is required by law to be spent on American-made defense equipment, services, and training. 74%. That's a pretty big number. That's a large amount of it. Most of the money comes back to American companies. Yeah, so it's not just that they are supporting Israel. I think it can be seen as a support to American companies as well. So here's how that plays out. Breakdown of aid flow. The FMF structure. FMF is the Foreign Military Financing, FMF structure. Israel receives around $3 billion annually in FMF. Legally, 74% of that must be directed to U.S. defense contractors for purchases through the U.S. foreign military sales system. What's left? The remaining 26% may be used within Israel for things like infrastructure upgrades or limited domestic arms production. However, that share is gradually being phased out by 2028. So by 2028, 100% of it has to come back to American companies, if that's what that means after that phase out. So again, that's pretty big. That's pretty huge. I think, again, I don't want to keep harping on the gas prices thing, but I think that this is a pretty good return on the investment. Implications for the U.S. Number 1, a boost to American defense industry. Most funds are channeled into U.S. contractors, sustaining jobs and revenues in the defense sector. Strategic leadership. These purchases support U.S. weapons programs by ensuring predictable sales and higher production volumes. 3, political savvy. Congress and administrations can justify aid by emphasizing its strong domestic economic return. And I guess they have done that. I guess that is the argument that I'm making as well, or that is being made here, is that there's a strong domestic economic return to America's investment in Israel. And the reason I'm focused on that is because that's where most of the criticism, I think that's where most of the criticism comes from. And if that's so, then we should focus on what the returns are. And in summary, it says, in direct terms, nearly 3/4 of U.S. military aid to Israel becomes business for American defense companies. Which again, I think is a pretty big deal. I do think, though, that it's fair to, instead of just listing the benefits, I do want to talk a little bit about what the criticisms are for U.S. support of Israel. Is what are the criticisms or the costs of that support? And it says, criticisms and costs of U.S. support for Israel fall into several categories: strategic, financial, political, humanitarian, and moral. Here's a breakdown of the main concerns. And, I guess at the end of this, we can kind of compare the benefits. We can do a cost-benefit analysis and see which one we think is more valuable, or just to make that comparison. So the first criticism is destabilization of the Middle East. Critics argue that unconditional U.S. backing of Israel fuels regional tensions, especially with Arab and Muslim majority nations. It complicates U.S. relations with countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Jordan, and contributes to anti-American sentiment among regional populations. 2, financial burden on U.S. taxpayers. The U.S. gives approximately $3.8 billion annually in aid to Israel, mostly military. This is the largest aid package to any single country. Critics question why wealthy Israel receives this support when domestic issues like healthcare, infrastructure, and education are underfunded. The next criticism is violation of human rights and international law. U.S. aid is seen as enabling Israeli military operations in Gaza and the West Bank, which have drawn international condemnation for civilian casualties and blockades. Critics say this implicates the U.S. in possible war crimes or breaches of international law, damaging the global moral standing. Number 4, double standards and global hypocrisy. The U.S. often promotes human rights and democracy, but its unwavering support for Israel, even during controversial actions, leads to accusations of hypocrisy. This undermines U.S. credibility in conflicts involving Russia, Ukraine, or China, in Taiwan and the Uyghurs. Number 5, domestic political consequences. Support for Israel has become a divisive issue in U.S. politics, particularly between older pro-Israel Democrats and younger, more critical progressives. Pro-Israel lobbying groups like AIPAC wield significant influence, leading to accusations of undue foreign influence on U.S. policy. The one thing I will say about all of these criticisms so far, not that they're not valid, but I do think they are criticisms that can be laid on America, regardless of where it chooses to give aid to. Regardless of which country it gives aid to, gives aid to, it's gonna have its criticisms and costs that come along with it. Even with Ukraine and our support with Ukraine, we know there's a lot of criticism that goes along with that as well, and a lot of costs. And a lot of those criticisms and costs are similar to the ones that we're being presented with here in terms of Israel. Number 6 is obstruction to peace. Some argue U.S. backing removes Israel's incentive to compromise in peace negotiations with Palestinians. Critics claim it encourages settlement expansion and undermines the viability of a two-state solution. Number 7, increased risk of terrorism. U.S. support for Israel has been cited by extremist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS as justification for attacks on American targets. Intelligence analysts have warned that this support can radicalize individuals or groups in the region and abroad. So the question is, do those costs outweigh what we've discussed as the benefits of America's support for Israel? And that's a call that I think each one of us is going to have to make on an individual basis. That's just a decision that each one of us is going to have to make for ourselves. For me, again, I believe any military action that America takes is going to have its costs as well as its benefits. And so the costs alone are not reason enough for me to say we should not do that or do whatever action we're choosing to take. And finally, I would just say that, again, even though it may not be a correlation with Zionism or our support for Israel and gas prices, I do think there are correlations in other places that we value as much as we value low gas prices. And so for that reason, I'm not ready to condemn the president or his actions in the Middle East, particularly with Iran. And I cannot say that I am in a place where I think we should do away with our support for Israel. I can't say that I am in that place as of yet. So, I think that's pretty much all that I have to say at this point about that. I would love to know what you feel about it. If you don't mind, please leave a comment and we'll continue the conversation there. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and please hit that notification bell. All of that helps. You don't know. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for stopping by. Catch you on the next one. Blessings.
I want you to listen very, very carefully.
It's all about life in the street. People are suffer, try survive in the heat. Bad mind them up to one, hygiene a do it. That's why enough of them, rifle a beat. Everybody want big ups and want to drive in a Jeep. Every day I'm at the ball when she buy in a read. Not even 5 bills, we can't find for the week. Me no see no changes, the same cycle repeat. Give thanks cause life it's a sweet. But keep an eye open every time you go sleep. Cause mankind jealous and them idle go late. Them never yet plant and not try figure it. Bigger heads where you fight for the seat. Now care about the future nor the child where you creep. Them a pray the fat Kyle we submit. The system will slide where you fit.
Inna the streets where we born and grow. Only Jah know and nobody know.
When we talk about ghetto life, talk about ghetto life.
Everybody a priest say them want it though. That's why them a speed and they pan the go.
Cause this a real ghetto life. This a real ghetto life. Yeah. Everybody just a pre-success. When me looking at the street, you me see enough stress. Them all a fight for who reach up next. Everybody want floss and a beat up chest. Juvenile in a them teen love sex. Them a breed the fast money, them no need subjects. And if you're unfortunate, please don't vex. Also the things said cause the streets don't rest.
Inna the streets where we born and grow. Only Jah know and nobody know.
When we talk about ghetto life, talk about ghetto life.
Everybody a priest say them want it though. That's why them a speed and they pan the go.
Cause this a real ghetto life. This a real ghetto life. Yeah. It's all about life in the street. People are suffer, try survive in the heat. Bad mind them up to one, hygiene a do it. That's why enough of them, rifle a beat. Everybody want big ups and want to drive in a Jeep. Every day I'm at the ball when she buy in a read. Not even 5 bills, we can't find for the week. Me no see no changes, the same cycle repeat. Give thanks cause life it's a sweet. But keep an eye open every time you go sleep. Cause mankind jealous and them idle go late. Them never yet plant and not try figure it. bigger heads where you fight for the seed. Now care about the future nor the child where you creep. Them a pray the fat Kyle was on it. The system will slide where you fit.
In the streets where we born and grow, only Jah know and nobody know.
When we talk about ghetto life, talk about ghetto life.
Everybody a priest, say them want the dough. That's why them a speed and they plan the go.
Cause this a real ghetto life. This a real ghetto life. Yeah.